Mr. Mayor, it's time.
I'd like to call this special meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Don Hewish,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tempore Margaret Morales. Here. Councilmember Mitch Lindeman,
Here.
Councilmember Dania Acosta,
Present.
Councilmember Ray Shelton,
Here.
Councilmember Michael Montenegro,
Present.
Councilmember Jose Grijalva,
Here.
City Manager Ana Rojico,
Present.
City Attorney Dennis Fitzgibbons,
Present.
City Treasurer Luis Pedrosa,
Item number 3, persons wishing to address the council in writing or verbally on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any this afternoon?
we do not, Mr.
Thank you. Item number 4, discussion decision to call for and conduct an executive session under the authority of ARS 38-431.03 subsection A3, 4, and 7 to consider its position, instruct its representatives, and obtain legal advice regarding the following. Item A, property sale of vacant land around the Douglas Municipal Airport. And item B, negotiations for the purchase, sale, or lease of real property located at 1300 San Antonio Avenue. May I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Shelton.
I recommend that we go into executive session to discuss said matters.
Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Ms. Morales to enter into executive session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Montenegro,
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales. Yes. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. We enter into executive session at 4:31. May I have a motion to adjourn the executive session? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Morales, second by Ms. Acosta to adjourn the executive session. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by nay? The ayes have it. We stand adjourned at 5:26. Item number 5, an update on item A, property sale of vacant land around the Douglas Municipal Airport. We've instructed staff to continue the finalization of negotiations of the contract for sale with JW Resources. And item B, negotiations for the purchase, sale, or lease of real property located at 1300 San Antonio Avenue. We've instructed staff to convey some of our concerns to the lone bidder on the property and bring the bid back for award at the June 14th meeting. And continue negotiations should that be favorable vote for bringing to the council in July, hopefully. Item number 6, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Morales. There a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Morales, second by Mr. Shelton to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by nay? The ayes have it. We stand adjourned at 5:27.
Mr. Mayor, it's time.
I'd like to call this special meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Donald Hewish,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tempore Margaret Morales. Here. Councilmember Mitch Lindemann,
Here.
Councilmember Dania Acosta.
Present.
Councilmember Ray Shelton,
Present.
Councilmember Michael Valdenegro,
Present.
Councilmember Jose Luis.
Here.
City Manager Anna Urquijo,
Present.
City Attorney Dennis Fitzgibbons,
Present.
City Treasurer Luis Pedrosa,
Item number 3, persons wishing to address the council in writing or verbally on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any for this meeting?
no, Mr. Mayor, we do not.
Thank you. Item number 4, discussion decision on approvals. Item A, employee health insurance contracts. Ms. Pedrosa, please.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Before you, you have the renewal for our annual health insurance contracts. This year, we've been doing pretty well overall, and our brokers are recommending a 3% increase. Usually, they come about 5 to 10%, so we did really good this year. We have the same plans as we have currently for this year. We are recommending to add a new plan, which a lot of organizations use, which is the high deductible health plan, combining it with the health savings account. This is usually initially used by those employees that don't use the insurance that much because it helps them build a savings account that eventually becomes theirs to use for medical expenses, deductibles, co-pays, and that can be rolled over year to year. So it's not something that they have to use or lose. And as far as the premiums, like I said, it's a 3% increase. And with that being split with the employer and employee, we see an increase of $18.48 a month for the basic plan for employee only to the employer. And of course, that continues to be $0 to the employee. And for family, it goes, it's a $30.06 increase to the employer and $14.64 increase to the employee for a family plan. And that's for the basic plan. And we set that same contributions from the city for all three plans. And that's how we come up with the employee contributions for the other two. And with the third option, it would be a health savings account for $92.42 monthly for the employee only that the employer will contribute to, and $170.76 for family coverage for the health savings account. I know that in the past meeting, it was recommended for the city to cover the increase to the family coverage, which would be the $14.64, and that comes to about $8,000 to $9,000 a year for the coverage. If we want to keep that the same level for the employee to remain at $488 a month instead of going to $502 a month.
Thank you. May I have a motion on the item?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Ms. Morales.
I move that mayor and council approve the contract renewal with Mark by Health, Aetna, American Health Holdings, Broadridge Medical Resources, and Berkeley. Set the monthly city contributions for employee only at $634.50, and for employee plus family at $1,031.96, and to accept all other voluntary and customary benefits as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Morales, second by Mr. Shelton to approve the contract renewals with Marpai Health, Aetna, American Health Holding, Broad Reach Medical Resources, and Berkeley. Set the monthly city contributions for employee only at $634.56, and for employee plus family at $1,031.96, and to accept all other voluntary and customary benefits as submitted. Any questions or discussion?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Ms. Lindeman.
I'm not exactly sure if to make this amendment during the budget talks or now. But the finance committee did recommend that the city would cover the increase for the employees.
Thank you. Is that covered within that motion?
It would not be covered. An amendment would have to be made to change the family coverage to $1,046.60.
I'd like to make that amendment then.
Motion by Mr. Lindeman to amend the family contribution to $1,046.
46 with 60 cents.
Second. Second by Mr. Grijalva. Discussion on the amendment.
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr.
I
Lindeman.
think this is keeping in our policy, or I mean, our philosophy of doing as much as we can for the employees as we did. I think we did this last year, and I believe we should continue.
Thank you, Mr. Lindeman. Anyone else? Okay, we're reading on the amendment, which is to raise the family contribution from 1,031 roughly and some cents to 1,046 and some cents for that. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes,
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Botanego,
Yes.
Tata,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales. Yes. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. Now, we will consider the motion as amended. Any questions or discussion on that? Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes,
Councilmember Acosta.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Botanego,
Yes.
Councilmember Tata,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales. Yes. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 4B, discussion decision on contract renewal with Educational Services, ESI. Ms. Pedrosa, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We have an annual renewal with ESI. It used to be SmartWorks, and the city has had that since 2009. So this is the only thing that changed is just renewing it one more year. Everything else remained the same. As far as the fiscal impact, the administrative fees, 5% plus whatever, benefit we have to pay for them. So the city currently has one retiree under this contract, and we're just recommending to renew at least for one more year and possibly allow the new manager to sign the renewal agreements later on, as long as any procurement requirements are met.
Thank you. Motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Shelton.
I move the mayor and council approve contract renewal with Educational Services Incorporated, or ESI.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Costa to approve the contract renewal with Educational Services, Inc., ESI. Any questions or discussion?
I've got one.
Please, Mr. Shelton.
How many people take advantage of it?
This current year, we have one employee or one retiree.
It's well worth it. Do it. I know when I was with Valley Union, I was the first one in the county to hire 2 teachers back, and then I was the first one to come back to Douglas and teach. So it's really, it's a win-win situation for anybody.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor,
Yes, please. Mr. Guevara.
I know that we've done this, but there's, as it says here, but if we continue to grow, we're gonna want people to come into the city, and we're gonna have different individuals, and piggybacking off of this, or I understand that it's cheaper because it's someone that's retired, but at the same time, that's somebody that could also be needing that job. So for this year, I'm okay, but I think we need to be thinking sort of long term, having jobs available, having one person taking up, basically they're being semi-retired. Again, that's taking up a job that someone new could come in and also broaden the tax base. I know that's just one person this year, but maybe for next year we can discuss this.
Thank you. Is there personnel policy in that as far as evaluation of employee candidates? that
Yes,
would take
there
that into
is.
Consideration?
Yes, there is. And also, not every position or not every person that wants to come back gets to, it's up to the city, depending on the position. If it requires institutional knowledge for them to come back. And for example, the one that we currently have, he's probably the only person in town that could be doing that job for now, of course, but we can be training others to be doing that as well.
So there's nothing set up that would give them a preference over somebody from the outside.
No, we always try to recruit first, and then what this does also is that it allows retirees to come back without affecting their pension, because for that 1 year that they have to be out. And if it's something that the city requires for that position to retain that person, is that incentive.
And
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, I
Shelton.
got one other comment. Also, you could have somebody from Tucson or Phoenix or Yuma or Flagstaff that retired. It is the best candidate. We could hire them. I mean, it's just not within the city.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
yes,
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes,
Botanego,
Yes.
Councilmember Tata,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales. Yes. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 4C, discussion decision on memorandum of understanding between the Arizona Board of Regents for and on behalf of Northern Arizona University and the city of Douglas to allow eligible employees to receive tuition reduction for eligible programs. Ms. Pedrosa, please.
Yes, thank you. We became aware of this program through a current employee that took advantage of this through another employer. So it's NAU has a program where if cities or educational institutions allow their employees to go to school and they get a 10% tuition reduction from tuition. So there's no cost to the city. All we have to do is just market and they use it on some of their websites and emails to employees, just making them aware of the programs that they have. And it's a good reduction that they're going to see in tuition. Anything helps.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Acosta.
I move that mayor and council approve the memorandum of understanding between the Arizona Board of Regents for and on behalf of Northern Arizona University to allow eligible employees to receive tuition reduction for eligible programs.
Is there a second? Second. Motion by Ms. Acosta, second by Mr. Bolanegro to approve the memorandum of understanding. Any questions or comments?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Villalba.
I think this is a great idea. Have we, now that we know that NAU does it, have we reached out to other universities to see if they have similar programs? Because not all departments might have something that that our employees might want to go to and get a degrees. Have we reached out to any other universities?
We have not, but we will. And in fact, NAU is telling us that in the future, these agreements are no longer going to be needed, that they'll be automatic, that they'll provide the 10% reduction to employees as long as they're city employees or school employees. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Acosta.
I'm just curious, what are the eligible programs?
They have, there's different bachelor's degrees and some masters as well. And some of the online programs. So they have the whole listing of the areas and I can get you that detail later as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, go Lumberjacks. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes,
Mayor Potempo Morales. Yes. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 5, presentation discussion on item A, budget presentation for fiscal year 2023, 2024. Mr. Kiko.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Today is a continuation of the joint budget meeting with the Finance Committee, allowing you an opportunity to touch back and raise more questions or receive clarification on anything. I know that after the joint budget meeting, you were provided with the budget schedules and all of the packet to comb through any line items as needed. What you have before you today also is a compilation of all of the questions that were asked during the joint budget meeting. We answered many of them at that meeting, but we memorialized the answers here for your convenience also to go back through them and just make sure that you have what you need based on all of those collective questions. And we have today also an opportunity to go through a summary similar to what we did to the Finance Committee as they prepared their recommendation, which will come to you in form with the tentative budget adoption on June 14th, which is already next week. Hard to believe, but I can summarize just quickly that one of the items you've already seen with your health insurance approval of those premiums is that the Finance Committee did make a recommendation to absorb those increases. They also made a recommendation to allocate a 2% cost of living adjustment across the board, plus a $1,000 one-time distribution with the budget. And they also made a recommendation to be flexible with the golf course superintendent position in case 85,000 is not sufficient for a proper recruitment. They recommended to create a range from 85 to 100,000, and that's a fully loaded amount. That was the change. And then they also made a recommendation to ask for a little more clarification on one of the senior citizen nonprofit requests that we entertain, and we will go through that as we go through a summary. But that was the format we thought we'd go through today, since everything's been presented. The Finance Committee, except for those 4 items, will be coming, will sign a recommendation to Mayor and Council for the 14th that basically accepts everything else in the city manager's recommended packet with all attachments that was provided at the meeting a couple of weeks ago, May 17th, I believe. So we have that as the format for today. Mr. Martinez will go through a quick summary of what the memo contained. If that's adequate, you have your question and answer sets to kind of help you think back of everything that was asked at that very first review. And then we have the recommendations from the Finance Committee as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Martinez, and we'll just entertain questions along the way.
Mayor, before Mr. Martinez starts his
Yes, please,
presentation,
Mr. Lindeman.
may I just say that the Finance Committee voted unanimously for those 4 recommendations. So
Thank you.
it was unanimous for the members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms.
Good
Martinez.
evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So I'm going to briefly touch on some of the budget highlights from our May 17th city manager's memo. Our cash balance is $21,418,993, which is an increase of over 2 million over last year. The current fiscal year budget will end in approximately $2 million in surplus. As of March 2023, sales tax revenues have exceeded budgeted projections by 33%. And actual collections, we've seen an increase of 16% in sales tax over last year. So 33% over budgeted projections, 16% over last year in actuals. We received a congressional, I keep forgetting this word.
Direct
Thank you.
spending.
Direct spending. I even missed it on the Finance Committee of 8.9, I'm sorry. So we received funding support for water and sewer infrastructure with 8.9 million from the state, as you all are aware. And we have 3 projects totaling $6 million, which will include the Chino Road extension, a new well for the port of entry, and an upgrade of its SCADA water management system. We have presented a balanced budget of $20,165,121 in the general fund. The budget includes funding for key areas in program that includes a total of 14 new positions for a total amount of $1,307,000. Out of those 14 positions, 12 are limited status positions and 2 are permanent that went unfunded in previous budgets. These positions will cover areas in code enforcement, blight abatement, facility maintenance, utility capital improvement projects, police accreditation, golf course, and an accountant position that will go from part-time to full-time. We're budgeting a total of $46 million, over $46 million in grants. That includes $680,000 in matches, an increase of over 20 million from last year. Some of these grant requests will include $15 million for commercial road resurfacing under the RAISE grant, 8.9 million from the state, which we have already been awarded, and overall congressional directed spending requests for a total of 6 million that we have already mentioned. General fund expenditures increased by 23% or a little bit over $6 million, due mainly to an increase in capital expenses, blight and demolition programs, added personnel, and due to inflation impacting fuel, utilities, and overall operating material costs. This budget recommendation contains year 2 of the classification maintenance review plan, or CMR, to achieve wages across the organization in 3 years. The estimated cost per year to the general fund for year 2 is $330,000. This budget originally included funding for a 2% cost of living adjustment or a 1% cost of living adjustment plus a 500,000 one-time distribution in November. As you're already aware, the Finance Committee, and then during the joint session, it was recommended that we looked into the 2% COLA adjustment and a $1,000 one-time distribution for each employee. The COLA will only apply to non-minimum wage employees, which is a little bit over 170 employees. The Water Division, along with the Sewer Division, is funding each half of a construction crew comprised of 4 labor operators and a lead. Along with 2 already existing CIP crew members in water, the team of 7 will combine to tackle water and wastewater construction projects such as new water lines, replacement of sewer water lines, and a $1.9 million in grants for new or rehab of existing wells. The sewer budget also includes the use of 1.5 million of the 8.9 million state ARPA water sewer grant to go towards the sewer design of the port of entry service area. 259,000 is included to go towards funding equipment for the new CIP crews, as well as 50,000 for construction materials. We are projecting that HERF revenue will decrease by 3% with a projected revenue of $1.6 million. We are proposing a $700,000 transfer from the general fund for additional road improvements. This budget proposes to enter into a 10-year loan for a new $2 million asphalt plant that can allow the city to produce its own supply in greater volumes and more consistent than the existing plant. For the golf, $1,270,749 is budgeted for the new fiscal year, to include $1 million from the net sales of the La Perilla apartments, $180,000 as a subsidy for operations, and approximately $85,000 for a golf superintendent position. Finance Committee is recommending to increase the golf superintendent position to $100,000 to be more competitive in the recruiting process. And that is including EREs or fully loaded.
Correct.
General government capital recommendations for this coming fiscal year contains up to $9.8 million in total capital projects, of which 3.8 is from carryover from last year and another 3.8 in new capital. 2.1 million in capital is contingent upon the sale of the land around the airport. Lastly, the city is budgeting 2.5 in capital improvements for the Douglas Municipal Airport. That includes 2.1 million for the rehabilitation of the runway and 100,000 for a revised airport layout plan, or ALP. That is part of the sale, which will divide the airport operations property and the vacant land around the airport to execute the sale. Another 300,000 is also budgeted for phase 3 of the perimeter fencing, which will be contingent upon the ALP revision. Just to go over the recommendations that the Finance Committee made unanimously is to award a $1,000 one-time per employee allocation and a 2% COLA. The total financial impact will be 181,000 for the COLA and 200,000 for the one-time allocation, with the 200,000 coming from reserves. The increase from 85 to 100,000 for the golf superintendent position. And again, something you've already taken action on, which is the to absorb that the self-funded insurance the cost to have it absorbed by the city as well, the additional $14.64. So that concludes the brief summary of the proposed budget with the recommendations made by the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. As this is a presentation discussion item, I'd like to start with asking the council's input on the recommendations that the Finance Committee made. I guess three of them now because we already addressed one in an earlier item in this meeting. So anybody would like to discuss those three additional recommendations from the Finance Committee? Questions or comments on that?
Mayor?
Yes, please, Mr. Grijalva.
I understand, I mean, we discussed the golf course supervisor, that they have that expertise, but we currently fund or subsidize the golf course for around 180,000. So we're gonna pay somebody 100,000 if you know, if they want to come and do that. That's a lot, you know, that's getting close to the actual subsidy of what we getting the golf course. So I'm a little bit iffy on that, to be honest. I thought 85,000 would have been good, especially, I mean, this is a small city, 100,000 for that, you know, we have to remember Douglas. You know, what's our average income here? Somebody coming in for 100,000 for that, I don't know if it'll sit well with the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva.
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Enderman.
if I may address Mr. Grijalva's concerns,
Please.
which are good concerns. And that was discussed. But the Finance Committee, if I can speak for them, was feeling that this would be a revenue source. And if we could bring the golf course back up to par, no pun intended, that it would be a good revenue source for the future, and then that would be an asset to the city.
Thank you
Thank you.
for that clarification. Anyone else?
Yes. Ladies first.
Lady.
Oh, no,
Ms. Morales, please.
Did you have something?
Have to agree with the Finance Committee as far as the percent COLA and $1,000 bonus for employees. 1% isn't enough, and I wish we could do more. I understand that. And you certainly deserve it. You do a lot of work for our city running well and maintained. It wasn't for our employees.
Thank you very much. Ms. Costa, did you have something to this thing? Mr. Shelton, please.
Yes. I don't care. We pay them 120,000. But we can start off with 100. But we need to have somebody there that knows what they're doing. And some people I knew really well in Bisbee that they eventually went to Sierra Vista with their car company, but you know, they said it takes money to make money. And if we just have a halfway golf course like we have, that's not good. And we need to expand our RV park there. You know, you pass other cities in Arizona and they're just completely loaded with winter visitors and people that want to play golf, people that want the sunshine, people that want a safe place. And I think that if we have somebody that knows what they're doing and then hires people and shows them what they want, and even the employees that we have, if we do it right, it's going to help our city. Having a golf course where there's 12 ladies in Bisbee, and then my wife, they go to Sierra Vista and play golf. No one hardly wants to come down here. And at one time, the lady said the golf course here, they love coming, but it's just not what they're used to. So the more people we can attract to come in, not only are they going to play golf, but they're going to go to Walmart, they're gonna go eat afterwards. And, you know, it's sort of a halfway black eye. The way the golf course is being run right now. So, and I know Bosco's a great person and he loved the guy to death for many, many years. He's a friend, but we need just somebody that can get us on the right line on that golf course. And if we keep messing around and do it halfway, that's what we're gonna have, halfway. So we really need to make that one of our strong points. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Acosta.
If this position is approved, will we still continue to give the golf course a subsidy, or what's the plan for that?
Mayor,
Yes, please. Mr. Keith.
Mayor, Ms. Or Councilmember Acosta, very, very good question. And just to clarify again, I wanted to backtrack a little bit. The 85 to 100,000 that's being proposed as a range is fully loaded, which means the salary is actually more was 65 to 85 approximately. If it were 85 to 100, I may be losing some directors trying to go be a golf course superintendent. This is strictly an operational, in addition to improve our operational model at the golf course. So we are currently analyzing the current structure, and we hope that by early to mid-July, we come back with a recommendation on how to make improvements to that model to help us get to a revenue building type of operation. So initially, yes, initially we are making the recommendation that we continue to subsidize until we get to a point where we can turn that around and it can minimize the subsidy, reaching sustainability over time.
Thank you. And I just want to add one more thing. I just random fun fact. I read some job openings on this, type of position, and it does require, it's not as easy as just turning on a sprinkler and spreading some seeds. There is a lot of chemistry and just different knowledge as I think degrees and different certifications and stuff that goes with this job. So I understand why the pay range would be what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Acosta.
Mayor.
Yes, please, Mr. Lindeman.
Excuse me. Just to reiterate what Mr. Akil was saying, there was a discussion during the finance meeting that if we could increase the revenue of the golf course, thereby lessening the subsidy, and at some point in the future, hopefully, it will be a self-sustaining model like some of our enterprise funds. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindeman. Anyone else?
Mayor, I just wanna,
Yes, please, Mr. Baldonado.
I just need clarification on this RV park electrical. I thought in the previous 2 years, we increased funding to upgrade the amperage for the RV vehicles. And it's still coming up 150,000 to include all RV stations. I'm just curious too. How many have we really upgraded in the past?
Mayor, Councilmember Baldonado,
Please.
we have not upgraded, we have repaired a lot of pedestals. We have, the ongoing project right now is to make the entire park, get that upgraded to electrical, upgrade the capacity for these newer RVs that currently we just don't have the capacity to go out. So it's causing a lot of issues with operation.
I believe we asked for a licensed contractor to go out there instead of one of our city personnel to upgrade those pedestals or whatever required. And I don't know if, well, maybe I'm dumbfounded, maybe I don't remember, but I thought we agreed to do that last year.
Right now, we we have issued appeal to licensed contractor to do work. We're working with APS to help us in upgrading those, transformers. That needs to happen first before we upgrade all of the wiring and conduit. Yeah, this has been a project in the works for a while. Yeah. We haven't been able to kind of solidify that funding, but this year we were able to get that from Vision 2032 funding to be able to proceed with that. So we do have a licensed contract.
Also like to know what's the story or what's how are we addressing Washington? Washington Avenue, right by Hubert Junior. I didn't see it anywhere in the budget, or is that? I thought we were gonna start right after school ended and we haven't done nothing there, so I was just curious.
Well, maybe that's a good question. To address that, we need asphalt. So we're definitely trying to get our plans running to help us provide consistent output of asphalt. We're looking at that option to get the plant running again. Or if we don't, then we're looking at contracting out, essentially Cerro Vista, to get some asphalt down here to finish that. And pave that area. There's still some work that needs to be done to that for the drainage section. So yeah, we just need to solidify that asphalt.
Also, I have a question. Do we have to wait for annexation to hire 2 more police officers and 2 more first responders, firefighters?
If I could hold on 1 second, I'd like to get back to the finance committee recommendations, and then we'll get into all the rest of these things. If you be patient with me.
Okay.
For a minute there. So is everybody comfortable? I shouldn't say comfortable. Is it okay to direct staff to put those items in the budget and come next week if you want to modify them or remove them? We can make motions to that effect. Is everybody comfortable with that philosophy of moving forward that way?
I believe I am with the finance committee.
Okay. Let's go ahead and we'll direct staff to go ahead and put them in the budget, those 4 recommendations. And then if we want to modify them, please come with your motions ready and we can modify them that way. Okay, now Mr. Valnegro, you're up.
Okay, I just, can we put that in the budget too? Since
So I
we're-
can take that, Mayor,
Please.
Mr. Valdenegro. So we talked about how we're trying to prepare for growth, and salaries becomes kind of our priority, and then adding positions. And that was the philosophy we followed in creating this recommendation. Our departments, our police and fire, did have many requests based on annexation. Some were staffing, some were new stations or substations. But we're not at the point where we've annexed yet, so we are looking forward into future fiscal years to start placing them in those budgets. Right now, the strategy is we have vacancies that we've not been able to fill because we're not at market rate. So we're trying to get even more aggressive on the police and dispatcher areas as an example. We're continuing to go through a 3-year CMR plan to reach everyone to market in a 3-year period, but we're expediting or advancing, if you will, police and dispatcher more aggressively to reach that now and to try and compete with those that we're currently not able to compete with. For example, we're losing to Cochise County Sheriff, Cerro Vista Police Department, not losing to them, but they're taking what otherwise could possibly come here as an applicant pool. So with this, we feel we're more competitive to be able to even fill our current vacancies and then hopefully be prepared as annexation efforts continue, that we're ready to add and recommend capital FTEs in a systematic and methodical way to be able to handle that growth.
I remember we spoke and, there's a couple of officers gonna be retiring pretty soon. Probably some, first responders also. But the thing is that we need experience out on the road, so we need to hire them. Two of each, that way we have the experience when those people retire. At least that's my feeling. I don't want to wait for annexation. The future's now, we need to hire people. We're short staffed. I mean, there was an example where we had graduation, all the people that were off were called into work. I mean, there was overtime for them, but that's fine. I mean, they earned that overtime, but I feel that we need police and we need fire. Now,
Thank you. I can speak to some of the attrition when we have upcoming retirements, that there are strategies that we can take to be better prepared for that. We can, based on our vacancy savings rates, for example, as we've not been able to reach full capacity and staffing, is we're able to do things like double fill our positions in anticipation of retirements and be better prepared. Unfortunately, we've not even been able to do that because our vacancy rate continues to be so low. I'm hopeful that being more aggressive to match Cochise County salaries in that officer classification, we'll be able to be more competitive and be able to do exactly that.
if we move some money from the general fund, I guess we can do that. I mean, that's what it's for. We can hire the people and manage the pay increases also. We have that general fund where we can borrow from it. If we have vacancies later on, then I guess we can put it back in.
Thank you. Mr. Vallejo. Anyone else? Mr. Shelton, please.
When we're talking about the airport, was there any money put to revitalize and get the airport museum in better shape and condition and so forth? That's one thing we need to start, working on if we're going to have people come to Douglas.
Mayor, Councilmember Shelton, not in detail here, what we said, and I think in more of a general sense is what we're hoping to do with the proceeds from the sale surrounding that will include the museum. And we've started identifying some strategies for that.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought, but I thought maybe it should have been in the budget. Thank you.
Mr. Shelton, Mr. Shelton, there is a airport museum improvements carryover from previous years. It's right now it's a 52,000.
Oh, wow.
So they did the restrooms, but it's still there.
Oh, the
They
restrooms.
recently did the restrooms, so whatever is left over, they're planning to use some of that.
Okay, so that was not including the restroom being done, or was it?
It was, so that's the leftover amount. So we have that.
I mean, that's a excellent start there.
Shelton also, that there's been some expenses lately because they just finished the new door, the new automatic door.
Oh, wow.
And air conditioning, so it might be a little bit less than 50,000. We can quantify those costs, but certainly we do have some money to carry over.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
And then other money.
And then the proceeds in addition to.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question.
Anyone? Yes, please, Mr. Vallejo.
I was read on email where we're not gonna open 8th Street Park. That's the first time I heard about the municipal pool. I mean, that's something that kids. As a kid, I would enjoy going to the public swimming pool. And it's not being available to. I think that we should take money out of general fund and fix whatever it is, and we've got to have it open. The aquatic center is getting overused. And if you're not gonna open it, extended hours from 1 to 5, that's not enough. Because you still have to open it for the adults that need to swim later. 1 to 5 is not enough room. Not like that, the big size pool.
Mr. Keith, will you update the council on, and the public on where we're at with the analysis of the 8th Street Veterans Park pool?
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, as I stated, and I believe a press release went out this morning to the community, is we have some major structural issues at that pool, and we fear it may be close to being obsolete, and we're requiring that we get the actual structural assessment done to know for sure. There are some major issues with the filtration system. We've had different types of leaks in the past. Also, just the structure of the surface has failed, and it's been beyond the capacity of our current teams to be able to patch it up. And I am completely in agreement. I challenged the team last year to do whatever they had to do to get it put together and open it for the children last summer. And if you recall, it was a partial summer. We had to close it without the complete. We usually go Memorial Day, Labor Day, and we weren't able to even reach that far because of the level of problems that we continue to have. So we have known that there are major problems. We're just having a difficult time identify the monumental cost to either whether we can make a well-informed decision on whether we have to start over or whether it's going to be able to be repaired in the future. So I asked for a very intense structural assessment, because we can't just be looking at quotes for this part, quotes for that part, when it's failing all holistically in the way that it is. And it is unfortunate. We were waiting for the Parks Master Plan to help inform some of that direction. And because that's not slated to come back to us until the fall, I'm just pushing that assessment to go out now, or requesting the assessment. But unfortunately, I don't know that it could be a short-term fix with the filtration issues cause a safety issue to swimmers as well because of the chlorine imbalances that we end up with.
I think Coaches College has a pool about the same size, and it's in longer distance, or it's closed now. It's
Believe it
closed here,
closed it.
facility, and close it.
We'd be happy to bus kids over.
So
If it
you
were
still have the filtration system there? Yeah, could you? That way we can put our phone running up and running. We can borrow. Take it from, because it's about the same size of pool. It really is, the one at Gold College. right?
But I know the staff is looking at innovative ideas, anywhere from having the fire department squirt water in the park on a certain day, or try to create some type of activities for them. Obviously, it won't be swimming, but it'll be that, and maybe we can look at possible busing to Sierra Vista on a activity type thing, if we could work it out logistic wise with our buses and such like that. Something to offer again, to offer the children, something to do.
Mayor,
Please.
and just a reminder, the aquatic center is available as well. What we've done is we transferred the hours that we typically run at 8th Street to the aquatic center. So we're at full capacity. We start swimming lessons, and that's Monday through Thursday. Open swim starts on Wednesday and runs through Saturday. So we've compensated that way. The only day that we don't have that we had at 8th Street is Sunday. And that's to give the pool a full rest. And just one more thing, working in aquatics for over 10 years, every year we try to open the 8th Street, and we do it with staffing. Public Works is always there and they help us get us up and running. Last year was one of the years where we saw the major issues of filtration system that wasn't distributing the chemicals evenly, which kind of made us really focus. And the other challenge we came across as well is, starting last year, we were contacting aquatic vendors to come do an assessment similar to Bisbee, and it's just been a challenge to get contractors and vendors. We have received quotes for the filtration system, but that's not going to address the holistic approach that Ms. Urquijo talks about. That's all. Thank you.
Sadly, that's the reality.
Okay.
Mr. Shelton, please.
Could we get a grant to maybe help us out?
Mayor, Councilmember Shelton, absolutely, we're doing really good on our track record for grants, but we have no idea what we're looking at until we get the assessment. So I will keep everyone posted, and I don't remember the turnaround on the structural assessment, but we're going to be pushing for a quick turnaround there as well.
Thank you.
Is the Bisbee pool open? It's not open either, huh? That means the three major,
Mayor, Mr. Shelton, Bisbee Pool, just as our pool is very aged. We're working off what we call in our industry dinosaur equipment, so they're also experiencing the same challenges. Unfortunately for them, they don't have another pool like we do here in Douglas to direct traffic. But we also connected with the city manager and we shared, what challenges we're working through, and they shared as well. So about the same challenges.
I thought, well, we can bust some kids up to Bisbee. Like that.
Anyway, thank you. Any other questions on the budget?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Grijalva,
just a few points.
please.
It was mentioned, by Mr. Martinez, that the two of the CIP crew members are gonna be taken out of water. I'd rather just open up the two positions because I've been around a few instances, or we've known about instances where water has had emergencies. I think they need their whole crew, that they're already understaffed. I think if we need a CIP crew, then that should come. I mean, if we have to vote on a future item to open up those positions, I'm all for it. I don't think we should be in a way punishing the crews that are already doing a great job by saying, hey, we're gonna take 2 of your guys, 3 of your guys, for your women, and make a new crew out of it. Even if they have to go back and forth, I think that's too much stress on them. One of the things that I asked staff was if the Mexican baseball was coming, and obviously it's not here. I don't know if it's not a line item. I don't have a problem with the Mexican Baseball Festival. I think Mrs. Morales brought up this concern a few years back. We got pancake this last weekend, so I don't remember how many years back, so maybe if you could remind me. But it was paying for their hotels. We pay for their lodging. They don't stay here. They take that to their next game. I think that's unfair because when they ask for lodging, and I think the reasoning was, well, we just give them the money. If they use it, they use it. If not, we can't tell them how to use it. But when we have outside funding requests, now we're asking them, now keep records of it. What are you gonna use it for? When are you gonna use it? Give us a quarterly updates. I don't think we can play a 2-tier system like that. I think we have to treat everybody equally. So if they say they're gonna use it for lodging, I think they should use it for lodging here. If they're not gonna use it for lodging, then they could always put that price into their asking price to come and play. Instead of just saying, hey, we need it for a hotel, no, just put it into the asking price, because for me, that's not transparent. And one of the concerns I have, and this is my statements giving credit to our lady councilwoman here, because Councilmember Acosta brought up a good point. During the joint meeting about the ARPA funds, we've had these ARPA funds for 2 years. And then now we're finding out we needed improvements on the pool. We've needed improvements at the RV park. Remember, these were when the wall workers were here and they were in horrible conditions. I think Mr. Saucha was telling us, they either had to pick between their AC or their TV. And then we wonder why nobody wants to stay at the RV park, because it's not a pleasurable experience. It's not a good experience. We've had these ARPA funds. I think the public deserves a reason on why we've been holding on to them. What's going to be 2 or 3 years when we've had all these issues. I mean, with all due respect to the streetscape, I would have rather put some of that money in that and then put some of the general fund, like Mr. Badanego saying, we've had an annual of $2 million surpluses every year, then put that into the streetscape if we needed to. But we've needed to talk about and taking care of these issues for a while. We've had that money and it's been in the savings account. So I at least think we owe it to the public to tell them, hey, we've had 2.9 million and we've had all these problems. Why haven't we been using them when they've been available to at least fix something? We could have probably had a pool by then, or we could have had, more people staying at the RV park, but instead we've chosen to hold on to them until next year. And again, people could be, that's the non-transparency. That's why people lose faith in government, where we're holding on to these federal monies and we're not using them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Could you please address the first item of Mr. Grijalva regarding the CIP employees in the water department? Can you express that strategy and such of what the actual case is?
So the two employees that we're talking about, they currently work in water, but they used to be in their Public Works CIP crew. Even their titles right now are special project technicians because they're not necessarily working in the regular operations of water. It's more on the construction side. So that's why, because those two positions were carried over from the past as part of CIP, and water kind of inherited them. Now we're kind of want to take them back to actually be under the CIP group where it's going to be water and sewer, how it used to be before.
And Mayor, members of the council, if I can accentuate that a little bit. So those two positions are currently in the role of CIP, but they don't have enough resources to properly handle CIP. So we've created this unit to combine both water and wastewater, add more positions so that they can more effectively accomplish that task that's currently part of their job description as well.
Does that make sense, Mr. Grijalva?
Yeah.
Okay. The next item, the Mexican Baseball Festival, are we going to be involved in that this year or not this year?
Mayor, Mr. Grijalva, yes, we are in current negotiations for the contract. And I've asked staff to look into their ask for the whole town, see if they can stay here. We don't know what what their response is going to be, but we're hoping that they stay here in town. That was asked for staff.
And if I could add to that, in the past, we've always asked for them to stay here, but it's challenging with the rooms availability. And they establish contracts with Tucson, which are at a very reduced rate. So they kind of have those established throughout the season. They plan that out in advance. So they kind of book the rooms for not just a day, but for months in one place, and seeking out rooms in another area just kind of throws them out of that. And the other thing is availability to get 100+ rooms here in Douglas as well. Just some of the challenges we've had to deal with in the past.
But Mr. Grijalva, call it what it is. If they want to charge us another $5,000 to come, then say it's a $5,000 fee. Don't say we're giving it for hotels and then have them walk away and go somewhere else to stay. And I understand exactly what you're saying because they're booked, because that's their home base. And I understand that, but just raise our fees and be honest with us and tell us what we're doing. Thank you. And then the third item, if we could generate another report regarding the use of the ARPA funds, please. Any other questions or comments in the budget?
Mayor, can I?
Oh, please.
I have one more suggestion. It's just a suggestion. I know that we've agreed or on a policy, and I think it's 2.5 million, and that's going to be used for CIP projects. And then after that, it's basically what we can use it for, right? Whatever is available. I'd like staff to rethink that, and maybe the first $500,000 should go to the bonuses and also whatever's left over on that for special events. Because this past Saturday, when we've had something that we haven't had here before, 300 people went. That's how the count that staff said. I mean, we need to have more activity here. We need to have more community events for everybody to have something to do. I think we need to rethink that. If we're doing great on grants, then put the first 500,000 back into the community, and whatever we have left over, put it into the projects that we have. But I think we need to start thinking about the community first, what we can do for them, for the youth, for the teenagers, for the adults, and also for the elderly. I think we need to focus on community first next upcoming budget year, if that can be an option. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. Definitely an item for policy direction. Anyone else? Please. I'll pause for a minute or two in case anything jumps in your mind. And again, we'll, for council and for the public, we'll be voting on a temporary adoption, or not a temporary adoption, tentative adoption of the budget. Thank you very much. A week from today, on June 14th, which is Flag Day.
And Mr. Mayor, and
Yes,
as a
please.
reminder, that sets our ceiling, right? Our spending ceiling.
Right.
For the tentative adoption, after that tentative adoption, we cannot exceed that spending ceiling. We could certainly shuffle the cards within the same fund. And then we will bring the final adoption in July, which sets the final budget, basically.
That makes sense to everyone?
Mayor, so.
Yes,
if I
please,
may-
Mr. Grijalva.
If I could ask Mr. Pedro, so basically right now, if we were to ask for something else, you can add on to it, but then when we vote on the tentative, we're capped at it, right?
Mr. Grijalva, that's correct. We could decrease one line item and bring it over to this one, but we wouldn't be able to increase it after the tentative adoption, but today we certainly could we have that flexibility today to increase areas.
I have a suggestion then, Mayor.
Please.
I've been around when they give out the backpacks at the airport park. And throughout the years, they've said that their cost is around 10,000, but they asked for 5,000. So if staff could, if we could add just the 5,000 for that back to the community. And things are getting more expensive nowadays, so I know they requested 5, but I'd like to add 5 more for 10, and if we need confirmation, please get a hold of whoever's in charge there to just make sure, just so it doesn't fall short and then we don't have students out there with backpacks or accessories for the school year.
Mr. Grijalva, can you help me out with a little bit more specific on which one is that one?
Making connections for you. That's the event for the.
Oh, okay.
for the schools in the back.
Okay. All right. So in that area, which is a city sponsored
Back to school.
activity. If staff would please take a look at that and see if that, what the history has been and what the projection may be for that.
Can I make a comment on?
Yes,
that?
please, Mr. Lindeman.
Which company is, or which organization was giving out backpacks?
It's, it was a city function, isn't it? Not,
It's in that outside fund.
The Douglas Care Fair.
It's making connections for you.
The
I'm
requesting
sorry.
agency's making connections for you. Is that AKA Care Fair?
It's I believe they do it through the Care Fair, and the organization is making connections for you. We can provide that packet to council.
Well,
but that was their request.
yeah,
Correct?
I would hope that they would know that they have to provide clear backpacks. Now, you just can't go out and send a bunch of them, because that's still a policy at the high school. And so I don't know if they're aware of that, if they're gonna just give out a bunch of backpacks, that's not always gonna work. You know, so you have to be coordinating with the schools. No, I don't know if they know that.
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
we do have a representative here from that organization if you like to speak with him.
Mr. Villarreal.
Please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For 11 years, Making Connections for a Year has delivered over 2,000 backpacks to the children of the Douglas community with their annual event. It's not a city event, although we partner with the city, have it in your facilities and partner with the public schools and with support of the superintendent and all the schools. This year, we thought it would be a good opportunity to request from the city for a part of that funding to support what we believe is going to be an increase in requests of backpacks. Fortunately, in the past, there has not been a denial of backpacks to any kid that has showed up. So we've given out 2,000 backpacks, which is about $11,000, almost $11,000 cost. That has been funded through different grants and donations that have been given through the Making Connections for You organization. 100% of it being dispersed in the Douglas community through the backpack program. So we were very pleased, and I thank the city officials that have worked with our last minute request, but for the $5,000 request. We have a committee meeting next week to discuss how much money we've raised, and to see if we feel that there's going to be over the $2,000 backpacks that have been distributed. We submitted a letter indicating from Mrs. Samaniego with the schools that we believe that there will be more than 2,000 backpacks, but we don't know until people show up. We hope we don't have to deny anyone backpacks, and we are aware of the backpack policies with the schools.
Mr. Brier, are these clear backpacks or they?
We're aware of the policies, and they have not been purchased because we're still collecting the donations yet.
Thank
Yeah.
Mr. Brier, I would hope that you would include clear backpacks for the high school students that as a part of their donation. Part of the donations that you would give out.
Yeah, so we receive normally monetary donations and we purchase a backpack. So we're aware of the policy and we're going to do our best to adhere to the policy of the schools.
Okay.
Yeah. And we don't necessarily get the backpacks donated to us. We buy them in bulk. And
But
so-
the clear ones have to be a part of that purchase
Yes.
because you know.
Yeah, we're-
There's 3,000
At least what.
for 1,500 kids at the high school.
Yeah, we're cognizant of the policies of the school district, and we want to make sure we give out materials that support those policies.
Thank you.
Bottom line is 5,000 good, or does it
Yeah.
look like you may need?
Well, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I was surprised that there was a request for more. I didn't want to request more just because I didn't want you all to feel that this was an event that was completely supported by the city. No, we're out there getting donations as we always do in grants, and we're going to continue to do that to meet a greater need. So would we love more? Yes. But I don't want it to make it feel like this is an event that's subsidized by the city. That was the intention of the original request.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Hey, what, one other.
Mrs.
one other-
Morales, please.
So they've never given out their backpacks.
I don't believe, I have not been a part of the committee for the 11 years. I don't believe that the city has funded the program. Yeah.
So it's been, different colored backpacks.
Yeah.
I know from the other companies, also donated some backpacks.
Oh, you're talking about the donation of the backpacks. Yes, we've received donations from different areas, and no, including up to last year, there was no clear backpacks. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton, please.
So how many did you give away last year?
2,000.
2,000, okay.
That includes
Um,
also school supplies that we,
You could
Right.
come back to us then, next week and say, hey, we might need another 2,000 or 3,000. When are you going to meet?
I believe on Wednesday,
Wednesday?
if I remember. Yeah.
Before this meeting or?
Yeah, 5 minutes before. Yeah, I'll have to check my calendar. I believe on Wednesday. We don't know that we don't know what the request is going to be until people show up. We're making
Yeah.
estimates about this year based on the conversations with the superintendent. Yeah, so we don't
Okay.
exactly know. We'll just know a better picture next week about our funding. We're doing raffles and other things and applying for other grants. Yeah.
Okay.
And we also give out school supplies. So we partner with the universities, the college, the coaches and other organizations, Cherakawa, and we stuff the backpacks with school supplies as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the budget? Hearing none, we'll go on to item number 6, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn? Yes, Ms. Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Morales, second by Mr. Shelton to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The ayes have it. We stand adjourned at 6:40 PM.